So this is it. First one, distributor. So, like with most of the things on this car, I've never touched a Lucas distributor before. I'm learning on the job, as they say, and I have already started on this, so unfortunately I've sort of already got underway before I decided to make a video on this one. But what I've effectively did initially was just obviously take off the cap, have a look inside. It already had a electronic ignition system fitted, presumably from the previous owner or whoever last worked on the car. This is a Piranha. I'm told it's a Piranha system with a chopper. That's the sensor. So this sensor would pass through there, and you've got your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 slots in the chopper that would obviously each one representing one cylinder, one spark plug that would fire as this went through the optical sensor, or from I think it might be a Hall effect sensor. I'm not entirely sure, but I don't know. I think that's optical. Anyway, having seen some suggestions online, Richard from Church House Classics said he transferred over to the Pertronix flamethrower setup, which is a lot simpler in that you don't have an external control box. So the Piranha would have had this plug would have come out of the distributor and plugged into effectively an external control box. I didn't know what the state of it was and decided that, you know, best bet to start again. So I bought myself a Pertronix system, which is pretty much what you're looking at. That's it. So you've got a new base plate, so that replaces the existing base plate. In this case, I had a Piranha base plate, but previously, obviously, the distributor would have had points from the factory. So you would be replacing, if it was a points distributor, the original base plate from the factory there. So it's effectively, you've got two pieces here. You've got the base plate, and then you've got the sensor, and then you've got this, which I believe is a magnetic, so Hall effect again, which would sit on the top of the shaft here, and as it spins, it energizes the spark plugs. So as I started to look closely, I decided, and I took out the old Piranha base plate. I looked inside. It was all a bit mucky. I could see some movement on the bob weights when I grabbed the shaft and held on and just gave that a little twist. I could see that was doing something, but I wanted to be a bit more confident in it before I rebuilt it. It seemed silly to go to that extent and not go further. So I drove out. There's a roll pin that holds the drive gear in place here. So that just drifted that out with a small punch or drift. Remove that. There's a tab washer that actually goes underneath that, so that would have been there, and then this would have gone on through there. So I took that off, removed this washer. Come on, if you can. And then it's simply a case of pulling out the shaft with the bob weights installed. So the bob weights are your mechanical advance. So as the distributor spins, you've got two springs here, one slightly thicker than the other, slightly more spring to it, and then as this spins, initially the thin spring allows the bob weights to go out so far, and then they get to a certain point and then they hit this stronger spring, and just for the last bit there, the stronger spring is acting on the bob weights, so it gives a sort of progressive advance, mechanical advance. So that's what I've got so far. I've taken this apart, I've given it a clean. I'm just going to put a little bit of copper grease under the bob weights just to sort of keep them lubricated, just so that they don't seize up at any point. Just get a little bit of grease in there, something that's not going to get thrown out. In this case I'm just using a bit of copper grease, and a tie wrap because I need to get a paintbrush that's suitable for that. I haven't got one. So just getting a little bit of grease in there, not caking it, and then start to put this back together again. So yeah, that's all fine. A bit more grease on there, on the spring. A bit of grease in between there. The tyre output is proving to be the best tool for the job. Okay, so that now, as you can see, that's the bob weights moving out there. That's what will happen as the engine spins, and then obviously as the engine slows down, the bob weights will return into that position there. So they basically swing out and affect the ignition timing, I believe, is my understanding. So we've got this shaft here which now comes back into the distributor. This has got these spiral cut grooves in it which actually bring oil up and you know, to help keep this lubricated. So I'm just going to grab a can of engine oil which I will use to lubricate them a little bit before I put them back together again. So there is a plastic washer here which obviously I haven't removed, but that's there to like a sort of bush on the bottom of the beneath the bob weights before you put it back into the distributor. I've given that a good clean out, just used a bit of gunk and, you know, got rid of all the detritus and rubbish that was in there. So I think the next phase is we'll just put a little bit of oil on here. Come on, work, you bastard. It's been used for a couple of weeks, so there you go. Mandatory oily rag. So just slot that back into there. It's nice and smooth. You're also checking for free play on this shaft. There shouldn't be any play. If it is, then the distributor needs to have new bushes installed, but this one is actually nice and tight. No sign of any movement there at all. Spins nice and cleanly, there's no catching or anything. So now that I've got that back in there, then the next step is to put this washer back. It has a tab, it just goes in place there. And finally, we push back the drive wheel. There you go, so that's now back where it should be. Got a slightly larger hole one side than the other, so I think that's the side that you push the pin in from. It's a slightly looser fit. Rubber mallet to combine, yes, drift. So we're just tapping this back home. I'm going to support a piece of wood under there so that I don't put too much stress on the shaft. Not being particularly happy about going back in. Just a big old whack. There you go. Just I was using the wrong side of the mallet, I think. So that's gone in nice and cleanly, but I will tap it in a couple of more taps further. Just to go. Gone too far. It's probably going to be. There you go. So that's now back in. Okay, so shaft is back in. Next step. Right, so I've got to get the base plate in and the vacuum advance, which I have over here. Here it is. So, as Richard from Church House Classics would test this, the only way is to test these really is just to make sure that when you suck on the pipe that this lever gets retracted in a little bit and that you're not just sucking air, and there's definitely a vacuum there, so that seems fine. And when I removed this, it was held in by 2 screws. Unfortunately, one of them was a cut down self-tapper. Again, one of the reasons why I need to go through everything on this car, I think. So yeah, so this screw here is scrap and no use to anyone. Using the other screw, which is a machine screw, I tested the thread. So this was in this side, it's fine. I tested the thread on this side where the self-tapper had been, and as you can imagine, yeah, there's a lot of play in that. It was obviously going to just pull free. So in my box of mixed screws I found something slightly bigger. It's probably not even an imperial thread, but this is a very soft metal, and it was fairly straightforward just to tap that in there, and it now screws in nice and cleanly, no play, so I will be using that rather than a self-tapper. Yeah, next bit. So we need to get the base plate for the Pertronix, and we need to fit the so this sits in here like so, and you've got the lever there which then needs to lock into this pin which is on the bottom of the base plate of the Pertronix, and that's your vacuum advance, which will move that plate as you put more vacuum through by increasing the RPM on the engine. So this needs to go in like that, so we just need to plonk this bushing, this rubber or plastic, it's quite hardened rubber if it is rubber by now, bush into place, feed that through there, the right way around, and then that goes back in like that. So with that back in place, it's just a case of screwing it down. So this one was the right screw. I've got a washer for that somewhere. Where's that gone? So I do have a washer somewhere for that, but I appear to have mislaid it. Let's get that one in first, so it just holds it on. This is my, there's the other washer. So this is my replacement screw. There you go. That's place. Then we have the washer for this one. I'm sorry if you can hear the fan heater and that's all you can hear, but it's far too cold to switch it off today. So we're just screwing in the other screw to hold the vacuum advance solenoid, or whatever you call it, in place. Let's tighten down nicely. So that's back in place. I gave this a bit of a clean up on the wire wheel just to make it look a bit prettier. It did have some rust on it. I'm not a big fan of painting stuff if it doesn't need to be painted. So the next step is to get the base plate in. So I can see from that you've got your 3 original screws that held the base plate in, from the factory with the original points line up with this. So this will be effectively going in here, dropping onto there and screwing down. And then all you've got to do is line up this pin with the hole in the vacuum advance lever. Looks like it might be slightly larger than the hole in the lever. There you go. So now that that's in place, that can all go and be screwed down. But if I give a little suck, you can see the base plate is moving. Obviously I can't suck as much as the vacuum from an engine, but it's enough to know that it's going to do what it's supposed to. Right, okay, so moving on to the next step, we need to screw this base plate down. Now, the screws that I removed that were holding the Piranha system down, I don't think are the original screws. They're far too long, and I just don't think they would have been the right screws. They do thread into the holes, but they are much longer. However, having said that, these aren't. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove these ones and see if they work, because the other ones I was going to have to cut them down potentially. So these have got some sort of plastic locking washer on, which I presume is all part of the Piranha system that wouldn't have been from the factory, I don't think. And then you've got all these little washers that were used as shims. So then you've got this here, which looks like it's a copper washer of some description for some reason. Okay, so I've got one. Two, and then finally this one here, which has a rubber spacer in it. Okay, there you go. So we have 3 screws, all of the same length. I think that's now all done with. Don't think we need any of that. This wire needs to be connected to basically have an electrical connection between the 2 plates, so I think I'll attach it to this screw as I screw it in. So I'll put that one in first. Hoping this isn't going to, no, that's bottoming out. Okay, so this screw is far too long. I don't think, again, this is any of the original screws. I think these all may be part of the original, part of the Piranha system. Right, so options are try and get some different screws or cut these down. I suspect that cutting them down is going to be the quickest solution, so I'm going to do that. There's no harm. They don't work. So I'm going to pause the video while I go and cut some screws to length. Okay, so we now have 3 cut down screws, and just need to find the 3rd washer. Start with one of these now. This screw is the one that will be clamping the earthing wire, whatever that is, to the base plate. So you can see I'm just getting that in there. Okay, that's one down. Second one. I just used a hacksaw to cut these, and then used a file to just take the roughness off the edges of it. Okay, that's number 2 in. One more to go. Okay, last one. So this is the last screw to hold this in place. This is when having chipolata fingers would be better than sausage fingers. Okay, there you go, that's gone in. Okay, so just nip those up, don't go mad. It's all alloy castings, so that's all fine. Then we have the, just make sure this isn't going to foul on anything. A couple of wires. Go on to the low tension side, and a direct feed from the ignition. With the Pertronix system, I also opted for the flamethrower coil. Again, it's a Pertronix coil designed to work with this set of points, and I believe I won't need to use the ballast that the Triumph would have used historically to give extra boost to the ignition system whilst the starter was spinning. Just try and get this pushed all the way through. Come on, almost there. There you go. Now, I think it's important at this point to make sure you've left enough wiring left of this cable inside the distributor to deal with the rotation of the base plate when the vacuum advance is doing its thing. So what I'm actually going to do here is just to make sure I'm actually going to remove the vacuum advance lever there so that I can move this and just check it's not. So So I'm not happy about that, it's going to pinch. So you're looking to see it can move all the way, which it can't at the moment. You can see there it's going to be stressing the wires. So it needs a little bit more. I would say that's probably enough. That position anyway. And then if we go all the way back, it looks like that's going to be okay as well. Again, I'm seeing these rubbing, and I don't like rubbing, especially as something that's going to be moving a lot. So let's put a little bit more in there. A bit more. Right, let's try that. Okay, so we're getting a full range of movement there, and it appears that we won't be getting any interference between the plate and the wires. I'm entirely sure whether it might be an idea to try and fix those inside somewhere, but I'm going to read the instructions again. Always read the instructions if in doubt. Just get that vacuum advance back on. There you go. Right, so that's effectively fixed in place. Left enough cable there so that the vacuum advance can do its thing without stressing the cable, and that then comes out of there. I'm just going to show you how this all goes together. I will be just checking that I've done this bit right, and if I'm wrong, I'll come back to you. If I'm right, you won't be hearing from me again. This should, I believe, clip down, but I'm not seeing that happen. It looks like it just pushes now quite neatly down. So there we go. That has now pushed down completely to the position it should be in. Yeah, that's it. Happy with that. I am going to check a couple of things, make sure I've done everything right before I commit and close it up and put it on the shelf, ready for when the engine is actually back under construction. So this is what I was supplied with from DD, Distributor Doctor. So I believe that the standard rotor arm on a Stag Distributor is actually taller. This one actually came with the distributor. Now, to me, yeah, they don't look much different in terms of height. Maybe because it already had a Pertronix system in it. But the idea is that this rotor arm, when it's sat on top, shouldn't mean that. Yeah, I'm going to have to keep an eye on this wiring. Something's not right with that. The distributor cap, when it's put on, should be a nice fit without pushing too hard on the centre pin, which it doesn't feel like it is. Yeah, that's just sitting down nicely there. I think that's fine. Yeah, we'll have a look inside. So yes, I want to check a few things on this before I finish it off. I think I'm pretty much there. By the looks of it, we may have been hitting the distributor cap with the rotor arm. So either that rotor arm needs to go down further, but I don't think it does, or I need to speak to distributor doctors, one or t'other. This is the original one that was on there. See, that one actually goes down all the way onto the magnet. I wonder if that one would be a better fit. Not that I'll use it, but yeah, distributor spins smoothly. There's definitely nothing going on there. So I'm wondering whether they've sent me the wrong rotor arm, because that's definitely not right. Yeah, that's definitely not right. I think there's some flashing in there from the moulding. So what depth have we got on that one? Looks the same to me. Let's try that again. Ah, there you go. There's just a bit of flashing inside the rotor arm from when it was moulded. Got rid of that. Smooth and buttery. Lovely. That's fine. Okay, there you go. So my first video, proper video for YouTube. Your first experience watching me try and put together a distributor. First time I've ever done it, and obviously I'm actually working with something that's already been worked on. But I'm happy with that. It's very simple, to be honest. So, you know, as long as you do it step by step, there's nothing really to be too scared of. Even removing the bob weights and pulling the shaft through, I was a bit nervous about doing that until I watched a couple of YouTube videos of other people doing the same, and it didn't strike me as something that was particularly beyond my capabilities. So once you get into it, you soon realise that these things are actually pretty straightforward. And you know, there's plenty of information out there on how to do it.